Alright, welcome back. The Proving Effect now come up again. And so let's start our live stream today. And we are going to make our engagement files in our logic of the system of the our FastAPI backend, whatever the OwlClip. Okay, so let's start now building OwlClip backend for clipping the YT videos, the long YT videos into short reels, and so these are literally changing the whole world. And so I heard that as going to work like a distribution for the YouTubers those who have made long video and they don't want to mess up their head on editing short reels, so that just enter their URL of the YouTube video, and then that our own engine, our clip engine, is going to convert it into the clips, and that's what I'm going to build right away. And so let's go and let's start. And yeah, our excellent live stream is excellent connection of our live stream. That means our internet connection is very good. Okay, that's good. Just enter the URL of the. So let's go and let's start. And yeah, our excellent live stream is excellent connection of our live stream. That means our internet connection is very good. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I think now my voice is pretty good than my previous voice. Oh, because of I'm using something damn. I am using my phone as an camera. That's why that all problems are happening. But it's okay. There's nothing matter. Let's restart now coding. And so let's we go back again. And so let's redo it right away. And so over here our DB. Okay, let me zoom it out. Okay. Oh yeah, so yeah, I think that much is good. Okay, so our job services are created, and our job is also created and stored into DB, and as well it'll created in a queue, that Microsoft storage queue, and it returns a job ID to us. And so now what we have to do is nothing. We have to just grab these tiny. Okay, so when it creates the job ID, and now we have to grab one by one that job from the queue. And so for that we research tomorrow in this chat GPT in some process and whatsoever them said. Okay, so let me see this. Alright, so let me see that whatever we have about, and so how we can get one by one the users the job from the queue, right? Job from the queue. So we have stored into the Azure storage queue. So now we have to grab that job at a one time while running these workers and things. Okay, so we have to run a worker, right? So for that we have to run a worker, and as well the queue service is going to let that. Oh, I don't have this one, right? In the queue service we see this in the queue service here. In the queue service here, let me go to the queue service, and we don't have that all kind of dump in queue function, in the dequeue function, and as well this delete function kind of stuff. So we have to provide properly our queue services. So here just only we have send job kind of thing, right? Send job. Okay, so it's just sending the jobs. Alright, we are seeing that client dot send message json dot dump. Okay, so json dot dump. Oh, said okay. So json.dump data, or you're seeing that is json.dump data, and then this is the data over here. So this is I think in queue. So but we are going to implement in a different way, and so where that same job is used. Okay, so let me see this in the job service, and here we are using that send job. Okay, where is that send job? Nowhere. I think nowhere. But yeah, let me see this inside this. This is a send job function, and so this send job is not used here anywhere. Okay, so no, not here, not here. Basically that send job is doing is just creating the job and sending to the queue. I think that. So yeah, right now what we have to think about is job upload job, and then self db dot add the job, and then self db dot commit, and then after we have an in queue. So over here we are seeing that in queue we may use here is create job. Instead of using in queue, we can use a create job, whatever that function name is over here. The self send job, not create job, send job. So this is what the send job mean, and so I got it. And then so now I have to create it like this one. Okay, so here self dot contain content string, these two strings, and then it is just like having some other policies over here. What these policies are doing, what these policies are doing, what these policy are doing. Let me see this. Let me grab it. So these policies are doing nothing. This policy automatically encodes binary data into a base 64 string before sending the message to Azure queue. The purpose of it is can struggle with raw binary data. Okay, so Azure storage queue without special handling can struggle with raw binary data. So this policy ensures binary payloads such as emails in the serialized object, compressed data or transmitted without being corrupted or causing. Okay, so these are purpose when reading a message via encode policy above, then ensures. Okay, let me use these two policies over here after this colon. Okay, let me separate by comma, and so we have to just grab these things from the queue. So we have imported this one, and now we have to just import this binary base 64. Okay, let me see, this is imported from where. Okay, so it will store come from not here, it's not come from here, it's come from okay, from Azure key storage. Okay, I think that. Okay, let me comma binary binary policy as well as binary decode policy, whatever. Binary decode policy. Now we have to use that binary base 64 policy. All right, so yeah, these tools are important here, and so over here. Okay, let me do like this. And so yeah, I think this is just creating the client and connecting to the Azure by this connection string, and as well as the queue name, the name of the queue. And then these two policies are doing just helping to us like to doing and these two things, like sending the queue, that Azure queue storage is struggle with raw binary data. So this policy is doing just the converting it into base 64 and whatsoever happening here. And so yeah, that's what it is. I don't have to be hassling with that. So yeah, base 64 encode and then base 64 decode. Okay. Then after we have to create an in queue function that is much better than writing that storage job. And so now over here we are seeing why this use this way. This way is very good. This way is very good to dump the data over here by using these things. And this way is very good to storing these dumps data into this message, and then we are just sending this message over here without not sending this whole function and things, right? So yeah, this is what it is. So let me do like that. And so now what we have to do is delete this one. And so our content state and these things are properly working from here. And so let me see this. Yeah, this is already working for. And now what we have to do is we have to dump the data. The data comes here, job data comes here. From that our job service here, that job underscore ID and job, and these are two data comes over here. in this job data parameter. All right, so now what we have to do is we have to get that message, dump the data, make a variable, and dump the data. JSON.dumps, 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 right? Dumps, not dump. Why are you using dumps and dump? Oh, okay. So we are using dumps because of one reason. We wanting to that the job whatever that job is creating, or it is just dumping that all the job ID and user ID data to the queue, and so it's kind of storing things right away. Okay, so I think that's what it is. Job underscore data. This is job underscore data, and now what we have to do is we have to sell a client, send the message to the queue. So what we have to do is self dot client dot in queue, okay, dot send message, not send message. Okay, so one thing is this client has come from over here. This is the client. That self dot client mean is connected. That self dot client is connected with your queue, so that's why we are using this self dot client, and then after we are just sending the message, send underscore message. That's what it is, right? So now we are just sending the message over here, and that's it. We are making this await function because async function, because of we wanting to we don't know when our job is sent to the queue, right? We don't know. So that's why we are using these things. And so let me see, this is a message. Yeah, so we are this is a function. Send message is a function inside the Azure. So that queue Azure queue storage, and so now we are just sending this job this message over here, this message variable. So yeah, or you're dumping the data. This is just JSON.dumps, JSON that dumps the data, and then message is the variable, and over here all the value data is dumped in the form of JSON, and now message variable have this dump data inside this, and we are just sending this message, the JSON data. All right, I think this is just not a part of that. What is this dump here? Dumps here, right? I don't think that is the part of Azure. So yeah, so what does dumps is? It stands for yes. Stands for the yes is dumps. It stands for dump string. It converts the object and returns it as a Python string in memory. Okay, why use it? It primarily used when you need a serialized data, convert Python data structure into a standard JSON string form. Yeah, so that dumps, JSON.dumps, that is just helping to create the data in the standard JSON format. All right, so standard JSON format. All right, a standard JSON format. All right, so yeah, so it sends data or an API by a network or store it in a message queue like Redis. Okay, so create a readable JSON tags often used for logging or saving things out. And yeah, so this dump we use dumps, which is dumps is with s takes a Python object and returns a string, and this dump takes a Python object and write it directly to a file. Right? So this is what the difference between these two things. And let me grab the comment over here. Comment somewhere here in somewhere comment. Okay, let me take it comment as a comment. This is very good for just commenting it. Okay, so dump we use dumps, and then this s is take a Python object and return a string, and return a string Python object and return a string. Over here it is saying that JSON standard JSON string. Okay, so it return in string, that means in a standard JSON format string. So let me copy this one. Right? Because this is saying that return this. Instead of saying this, we say that returns a standard JSON string format. Returns a standard JSON string format. So that's what it is. And so now what we have to do is let me grab something. Okay. Alright, so we have created a sync function now, and so okay, let me grab this or these at top of this, and so yeah, over here, okay, that's good. Set. Okay, what the hell happened? Okay, that's nothing mean. Tab, tab. What the heck happened with this? Okay, yeah. It's the Python problem is this one. Alright. I know the problem of the Python. Okay, the problem of the Python is indentation sometime, right? So for my document, I have used just the form document. And yeah, now what we have to do is we have stored the into the enqueue. It's just a function, not enqueue, right? So yeah, we have just stored send them. We have just sent the message of this job, first job, and this job is in the form of dictionary. All right, so yeah. And then after we have to dequeue a function dequeue, what it will doing is receives messages per page equals to 1, and this is mean is we are getting only one job page message per page equals to 1, only one job, and then visibility time out of 300 seconds. Or what is this? I have to understand this. And async for message batch in messages.myPage. Okay, so what will happen here is async function, async for loop, a function. What is the hell happening here? Okay, yeah, this is an async for function for loop is for message batch. What the message batch is? The message batch is coming from where? It's coming from where? I don't know. It's just a variable, right? It's just a variable name for message batch in messages. This messages dot by piece. This client have a keyword inside the Azure, which is this by piece, and the by piece, and then we are getting that for message in message batch, for message in message batch. Okay, so by piece, that is stored one page at a time, and so for message in message batch, which is data equals to JSON.loads message.contain. So JSON.load, JSON loaded over here, and that is message.contain. Okay, message.contain. Then it is returning a ID, and then pop receipt, message.pop receipt, and then data like this, and return none. And then after, when you have to delete, we'll just call this delete message function. So I have to understand this properly. So I don't. Okay, not this one. I have to understand this one, right? So explain it properly and so on. Let me write it over here. Explain this properly, each line. Alright, so yeah. So the function is designed to grab a single message from a queue, likely Azure storage queues, given the syntax, and convert its content into a usable Python dictionary. So async def dequeue itself is define an asynchronous function. Okay, yeah, it's defining an asynchronous function. I know it because of it's a synchronous function, and we have used async keyword over here to making this function asynchronous, and so this allows your program to wait for the queue response without freezing the entire application. Without freezing the entire application, it is allowed to program to wait for the queue response. This asynchronous functions are allowing you to wait for the queue to get the response from, because whenever a data comes from somewhere else, that may take some time to get that data. So that's why we are using over here the async function. Otherwise, if we don't use async, basically async mean is the data comes in the form of a while, takes some time, whether that 10 milliseconds or whatever time duration is, so that all getting the data, and so Then what I have to understand that async is a function. Okay, asynchronous function that is helping us to do like that. I have to go much deeper after that. So yeah, self.client.receive message. It is receiving this, tells the queue client to look for messages and only grab one message at a time. Only grab one job at a time from the queue. That's what I said, and that's what the logic over here. So yeah, hides the message from other worker for 5 minutes. Hides the message. What this is? Hides the message from other workers for 5 minutes, 300 seconds, so nobody else processes it at the same time. What this? I don't know. What this actually is. Alright. Think of it as checking out a book from a library. When you call DQ, you are not deleting the message yet. You are just picking it up to work on it. The visibility timeout is a timer that starts the moment you grab the message. Okay, so how it works in practice? So the invisible clock is for those 300 seconds, the message still exists in queue, okay, but it becomes invisible to every other job or every other workers. If another worker asks, is there any work to do, the queue says no. Deadline for you, you now have 5 minutes to finish your task, processing an image or whatever, and deleting the message. Setting it is if your code crashes on your server, lost power, you won't be able to send the delete command after 3 seconds expire. The invisibility clock wears the message appears in the queue, so another worker can try again. So that mean I have to it sends one job only from the queue and hide other jobs oh said my keyword jobs until at the 5 minutes 5 minutes 5 minutes what 5 minutes until that 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay, so what it's saying is not exactly, okay, it only hides the specific job that was picked up, okay, not the entire queue, which will determine works on per message basis. Here is exactly what happens. Okay, only one job is hidden because you set message per when the client grabs only one message from the front of the queue, and then only that specific message becomes only that specific message invisible to other workers for 5 minutes. Only that specific message becomes invisible to other worker for 5 minutes. Only that specific message becomes invisible for other workers for 5 minutes. Other jobs are still visible. All other messages currently in the queue remain visible. If you have 10 other workers running the same code, they can immediately grab those other 10 messages and start working on them. But what about if I just grabbed one as you as message per page equals to 1, message per page equals to 1, so that only grab one, and as you said I have a worker, okay, so I have a worker, and that grabs, okay, I have the worker, let me think, I have a worker, right? I have a worker, and now what I have to do is just grab that worker, and then after grabbing that worker, now worker is gonna to grab one job from the queue, right? So yeah, grabs I have worker that grabs one job one job from the queue, all right, from the queue, and then it's just what it do is it's just for 5 minutes. What happened? Tell me. I don't know what it is saying. Like 5 minutes of uh, while they process. Okay, one job for 5 minutes while they process them in parallel. You can 100 worker each hiding on one job for 5 minutes while they process them. Okay, so if you single worker grabs one message with a 5 minute timeout, that one job is reserved exclusively for that worker during that message. That time here is exactly happens during those 5 minutes. The reservation phase worker starts your grab a job from a job immediately becomes invisible to any other worker, and so if you have them queue status is the rest of the queue. Job B, C, and D. C remains visible and available. If you were to second worker right now, it would grab job B immediately. Okay, but the same rest of the queue remains visible and available. If you were to start a second worker right now, it would grab job B immediately. The two possible bigger outcomes is what happens next depends entirely on whether your worker finishes its task before the 5 minutes timer run out. Okay, yeah, I'm also thinking that if that timer ran out, if that my worker done the job before the timing of 5 minutes, and my worker is just done the job in 2 minutes. So what happened? Like, okay, that's here the possible outcomes. So success finishes in less than 5 minutes. Yeah, our job is finishes in less than 5 minutes. So your worker processes the data, our worker processes the data and sends a delete command. Okay, after processing, it will delete the command, it will delete the job A, is permanently removed from the queue, and the worker moves on the next available message job B. That's good one. And that's what I'm thinking about, right? So yeah, I got it. So timeout or failure takes greater than 5 minutes. Yeah, if the worker is still working at a minute 5 and the invisibility clock on job A expires, job A becomes visible again at the front of the queue. The risk is, since your worker is still running, it might try to finish job A, but another worker could now grab A at the same time. This leads to duplicate processing, doing the same work twice. Key strategy, heartbeat is updates. If you realize job are taking longer than expected, you don't have to let it expire. You can use a heartbeat to expand the timeout. Okay, so in your code, you would update message to rest 5 minutes, and you giving your worker another 5 minutes of private time with that message. Okay, I got you. I have to give the 5 minutes. Alright, so let me give the 5 minutes over here. Alright, so it's a DQ. Let me make a DQ a single function. Alright, so I have to make a DQ ASYNC a single function left, and this is DQ function, and so DQ, which is I have a self is just an object. I don't know, I have not read much about these Python things, but this help means helping us to grab the like it's just something like class of things. So this is just help us to grab the whatever that. Let me conclude it, right? I don't know what it is. I know somehow, but I don't know why I'm fumbling over here. I forgot that one. What is that self over here doing? What the hell is doing, right? Okay. What this parameter doing here? Okay. So in Python, self represents the specific instance of the class. Yeah, the class that is currently running the code. Okay. Think of the class like a blueprint for a worker. You might have 10 different workers instances created from the same blueprint, but each one needs a way to refer to its own specific tools and data. That is what SELF does. So why SELF is there? Accessing your own data in your line message equals to this. Self.client tells worker use the client, the connection to the queue that belongs to me, and then automatic passing. When you call these things, Python automatically slides the my worker object that first self is part for you don't have to pass it manually. Okay, so yeah, it's a behind the scene convention, and so this self is represented as a specific instance of the class. So over here I'm seeing that the self is just an class instance blueprint, and that self is over here creating the client, and then after that self.client is stored is a class blueprint which is stored this self.client, and now we can just grab it by just say like that connection to the Azure storage queue, and then when we just call all the functions inside the Azure. So yeah, I think that's what it is. Now let me write some things. Alright, so what is this? DQ, and then after self.dq. Okay, now the self.dq, self.trying to get the connection with that Azure storage, right? So yeah, self.client.receive message, yeah, that have a receive message keyword. Okay, so receive message. Okay. Alright, I don't see something. Okay, self.client client in the receive or CEI. Okay, so let me write properly the code. Receive underscore message, the typo kind of things. Alright, so these are something like messages per page per underscore page, which equals to 1, and then after we have to say something that is for timeout, visibility underscore timeout. Visibility timeout is 3000 or what? Okay, 300. Alright, 300. Alright, 300. And then after, okay, so self.client.receive message, self.client client.receive receive underscore messages. Okay, it's not a message, it's a messages, and yeah, we have the messages, and here is the messages, and so on. It's something like messages, and over here that messages, and after that we have to just write an inside and another function which is for a sync for loop for what? For message batch. This is just a variable name. Message batch is just a variable name in for message batch. Whatever the message batch in that messages. Okay, messages dot what? Messages dot by page, by underscore page, or by page, what that by page, and we are just calling this, and then this is what it is. So by page is a function. Alright, so by underscore page, and then for another MSG message in message batch, if there is a message inside something message batch, then we just go write something like this. What is this man doing, right? I don't know, so I have to understand it. Alright, let me understand these things. Alright, so this part is of the code is a Azure queue client gives your message. It's a loop within a loop. Okay, it's a loop within a loop. Okay, and because the client delivers messages in batches. Okay, so that client, Azure client, is giving us the messages in the batches pages rather than one by one. It's not giving the data the job one by one. Instead it will delivering the client delivering the messages in the batches or pages, right? So here is the breakdown. So over here, that async for message batch in messages dot by underscore page, and the page collector, even though you ask for message underscore per page one, the SDK is designed to handle hundreds of messages at once. It groups messages into a page like a container. The async for is test the Python, go to the internet and wait for the page of wait for a page messages to arrive. While you wait, don't freeze the rest of the program. Don't freeze the rest of the program. So don't freeze the rest of the program. Yeah, I want it's just going to offload that waiting things is in a corner. It's waiting for this response in this function is waiting in the corner, and all the other things are running simultaneously. That's what the benefit of the async function, right? So yeah, don't freeze the rest of the program. So for message and message underscore batch, which is the message unpackager, once a page arrives to that loop, and then this line loops inside that container. This line loops inside the container, and the logic page has one message. This loop runs once. If the page has 32 messages, this loops 32 times. Why use two loops for just one message? Which is, you might wonder, if I only ask for one message, why do I need two loops? So Azure SDK always returns a paged enumerable object. Even if the page only contains a single message, you still have to open the page and then grab the message inside it, and then think of that. It's like Amazon delivering by page. It is the truck arrives at your house. Message batch is the box, the driver hands you, and whatsoever. Alright, so yeah, this is what it is. And now what you have to do is we have to just get the JSON data, JSON.loads. We have to load the data over here. That message, okay, that what we have to message.content. So we have to load that loads that message.contain. We have to load the message.contain. Okay, so what are the things happening? We are creating the queue in queue. We are creating an in-queue function that is just dumping the data. Not dumping the data, it's just sending the message to the queue, and we are getting that job data over here from this job service, right? From the job service, we are just calling this in-queue function from this over here. If we see this from this over here, this service. All right, so this service is getting for us the in-queue. Okay, queue service have these things. All right, so over here, all right, so okay, I got it. That is goes from there. All right. Yeah, that's good. Data equals to this, and then now we are returning it, and we are returning in the form of JSON, in the form of dictionary. So yeah, here in Python it is known as a dictionary. So message.id, and dictionary is stored in the form of key and value pairs, and then ID. After that is pop receipt. What is pop receipt is? I have to understand, right? Pop receipt, or ECEIPT. Okay, CEIPT. Receipt, pop receipt, or ECEIPT receipt. And then after, I have to write message dot pop underscore receipt, pop underscore receipt. Okay, all right, so this is receipt underscore pop underscore receipt. Okay, I don't know what the hell happening with me. But yeah, this a data something comes from. It's not a data. Yeah, it's a data. It's data comes from this data. All right. So yeah. Okay. The message.id is something that contain the message is come from this. The message.id, we are getting the ID for whatever that message ID is, and then we have pop receipt. What this pop receipt is, I don't know. I have no idea about it. Let me just write just send this thing. So this return statement is the output of the function. It passes the most important details about the message into Python dictionary, so you can use them in the part of to your code. And this is the unique identifier for the message. It's like tracking numbers. Yeah, what is this doing? This is critically important temporary password. Okay, it's a temporary password to delete or update the message in Azure. You must prove you are the one who currently owns the pop receipt. Is the proof. It changes every time the message is DQ. Okay, I got you. I got you. And then after we are just returning none from this function. Alright. We are returning NONE none from here. We're returning none, and then after we need a function and another async. Alright, so yeah, this is the function, and now I have to write another ones. Async function, which function is a def or delete, async delete function, which is self and then self msg for deleting that message, and then it is just like 2 parameters, and then after what we have to do is just wait it because we don't it's just a task for waiting things like it also takes some time to Azure to delete our message, delete message, right? So yeah, this is delete message, and then we are getting a message, and this is getting the data from the object. Alright, so this is from the dictionary, not dictionary, from the array, I think so, or dictionary. Or dictionary. I think dictionary. Alright, if we go to run the Python thing, I know this is dictionary. Alright, so yeah, a little bit. Okay. MSG, and then we have just getting that pop receipt pop underscore or ACEPIPT receipt. Okay, so pop receipt, and yeah, so this is what it is just doing delete underscore message, and then worker production grade. This is the worker over here that is doing our main job. Alright, this is worker who is doing things after someone enter the things into queue. So yeah, worker underscore loop, which is QD, and yeah, it's also need DB to add the processing is done or it's completed, whatever the progress of their job, right? So tracking progress of the job, each job, right? So while true, message equals to await q.dq, and then if not message, then await async co.sleep, which is back off, continue, and then job underscore id, which is message, and message from message, we are getting the data, we are getting the job id, and then after update the status, and that status is db job underscore id, and this is just an db repository, maybe we can say, like to adding that the job ID is in the and processing the progress of it, that right. So yeah, this is what it is. Now I do not delete, let it retry. Okay, do not delete, let it retry, okay. Okay, so over here while true. Okay, so we need a worker, but first of all I have to understand properly that what this DQ is doing. So DQ is doing nothing, it's just receiving the message. One is because Azure sending us the data in the form of pages, or in the form of pages as well, in the form of pages. in the form of page, in the form of page, okay, in the form, okay, here, that in the form of pages, okay. So where is that? Azure sends the data in the form of page, or okay, this is 200 300 things. Right, so in the form of page. All right, so in the form of page. Okay, over here in the form of pages, in the form of page, right. So yeah, this one is sending the Azure SDK is sending the form of message into a page container, like a page container in the form of batches. Yeah, it's sending the message, delivering, the client delivers, that Azure client delivers messages in the batches, pages, rather than one by one. It's not returning that one by one. By this we are just quickly saying that one page, one job only per page, like all the messages come in the form of batches, so that one message, we are just getting the one message per page. Every page is that batch, that Azure. Okay, let me write some comments over here. All right, we have to write some comments over here. Azure sending the job, the masses in the form of batch, as well in the form of page, in the form of batch and page, batch and page. Azure sending batch and page. So we here message underscore page per underscore page, which equals to 1. Okay, so don't write here, it's a technical, it doesn't need here or here, there, and whatsoever. It's a technical writing, so let me write like that. So here message underscore per page, which is which defines exactly one page, exactly that batch have only one message, right? Only one message. All right, so yeah, here this one is defined, right? All right, so this defines exactly that batch have only one message, exactly that defines exactly that batch have only one message, right? So that batch, or whatever we say, page, batch or page, right? So batch or page have only one message. All right, so this is only defining this thing, and then after this visibility is nothing. It is just hiding that that job for 5 minutes to working for that, and then that's what it is. So all right, these two messages we need to two for loops we need. So this is a variable message batch, and inside it, one by one, that message dot by page, this is messages, all the messages, these messages have the one message, having one message. So by the page, by that batch that Azure release for us, because Azure sends data in the form of batches or pages. All right, so batches are pages. All right, batches or pages. So now what it is doing just is one page at from here, one page, that page have only one message. So here we are getting that one, and that one message is going to this batch message underscore batch. So in Python, in this happening is this variable have that one message, and now for that message we are just doing that looping to this message underscore batch variable to getting that one message into this message, and now we are just loading that message content. We are loading that content of this message.contain. We're loading the message.contain, and then we are returning these things. we are returning message.id, we are returning message underscore this. Why we have not used data, right? Why we have not used this data variable? Why not here we said data.id, data.pop underscore script? Maybe that content is loads over here, and whenever it loops through this, and then it will got these things. I think that's what it is. It's loading that content, so that it loads whenever we whenever one job comes here, whenever worker trigger to this DQ function to get one job at a time, right? So yeah, it's triggering from here, right? This is doing nothing. This is just a service. Alright, so this is just a service, and here over here you see this q.dq, that where we are triggering, that where we are using actually that function, right? So that function. Alright, so we need a worker.js, and we have created to yesterday this worker.py, and now def worker loop, this is a function name, and then q we are getting that q and db. So while true message equals to await q.dq, and then if not message, then await async co.sleep for 3 seconds, whatever, 3 minutes or 3 seconds, back off, continue, and then job id is his message, and this, and job id data, and the job id from that, and then await this and that. Alright, now we have to design our worker properly. First of all, I have to understand what happening in this. We have already created this job service done properly, I think. Yeah, so it is using properly, that's in queue and dq, but I have to think about that, where that in queue comes from, because okay, the queue service, okay, this is comes from here, right? Queue service. Okay, let me see that queue service. Alright, so the queue service have this in queue, right? So this is come from here, this is come from here, that queue service dot in queue. So see this queue service dot in queue over here, that queue dot in queue, that queue dot in queue, and now that queue have that queue service, that queue have this whole service, right? So it's a little bit tricky, but I can grab it, right? Alright, so yeah, I back again. And so yeah, over here we have to understand properly that, okay. Alright, so we have properly, yeah, so I am saying that the queue service is using over here the job service using this self.queue, and now that self.queue have that queue service, and then that queue service is that q dot in queue comes from here, and that is just doing sending the message to the Azure storage queue, right? So that's what is happening. And now dq over here, which is a function, and that is grabbing us for us one message per page, because batches, Azure sending data in the form of batches, the queue, Azure queue in the form of batches, and that over here we are doing these two things, and then after the message.id and message.pop receipt and data, and returning this function return nothing. So yeah, then delete the message from here. So this is what it is. And now what we have to do is we have to create a worker properly. So for worker, we have need to think about what are the things going to happen in the worker. So first of all, okay, let me write some pseudocode over here, right? So that we can think, right? Otherwise AI can blot out our code and maybe give us the good analogy, but I have to think about, right? So what happened in the queue is, in the worker is simultaneously running each and every job that is stored in the queue, right? So the worker is just doing one job, is doing simultaneously the okay. So yeah, the job of the worker is just only doing the job of whatever inside that queue. So worker is going to run simultaneously all the jobs that is stored in the queue, that is all in the queue, and that is just going to do one by one, just running all the jobs properly, completing the jobs properly, and it is running simultaneously one by one, because our machines are not going to give the service to every job. Instead, we are just doing one job at a time in the worker. So we have decided the logic inside the queue storage in the queue service, which not the queue service, okay, in this one, which is not, yeah, in the queue service, with this one, and just getting that one message per page, and that's what we are just getting in the worker, and that's what happening, right? So worker is like just getting a job from the queue, it's getting a job, right? A job, and it's getting a job and running that running the process, right? Running the process or whatever, running our other small services to providing that to doing that service properly, right? So yeah, I think so. What I have to do is, first of all, I have to get a job from the queue that is done by here in the queue service. So we have to just use that function over here, and just everything is set up, right? So after that, what I have to do is, after a job running the process, then I have to do is a job and running the process so what are the processes? First of all, I want our DB to update processing. All right, update with processing, because that is at first time when user created a when user entered their right URL, that is going to create a job, and that job have process, that progress is queued, and so after that, when it come to the worker, it will in the processing mode, in processing process, right? In the processing process, like over here, you see this is the process, and then after it is completed, when it goes to our pipeline, that engagement pipeline, that goes to our engagement pipeline, then we are just going to complete that job, and that's what is happening over here. All right, so and when it is completed, then what we are going to do is to just delete that job from the queue, that message from the queue, right? So that's what it is, so that it will not run again and again that same job and ruin our things, right? So that's not good. All right, so we have to properly handle these things. All right, so deleting the message. All right, so then what we have to do is that's what it is. We have to update with processing our DB to update with processing our DB to update with processing, and then after, what we have to do is to send that engagement send the job ID to engagement file. All right, to engagement file. All right, so we are sending the job to the engagement file, and then after it is going to return us. It is going to return the processed real or whatever real. Okay, it is going to process real, and then after we are going to say that just say that when it returns a processed real, what it is going to return us, it return us the real, and it is going to show to the user, and after that we are going to update that with completed status, right? Completed status. So it's completed, our job is completed. Then we have to just remove or delete messages from the queue, so we have to delete that message from the queue. And then after if everything is failed, if exception not fail, if exception occurs, maybe our server not our server stops and nothing working, so that it returns some exception of worker not working. So if have some exception, then we are going to store that failed status, right, in the db, failed status in the db. Yeah, here you see this in the field. Do not delete, let it try, right? Do not delete things, let it try things, right? So yeah, a critical production concept is a visibility timeout, which is 5 minutes, means worker has 5 minutes to finish it. If it crashes, message comes back. If it crashes, then message comes back. Okay, message comes back. Yeah, if it crashes, then message comes back. Okay, your job is YT plus AI. May take greater than 5 minutes, but solution extends visibility at a heartbeat, which is queue.update message, which is for 300 seconds. Visibility timeout. Alright, it is saying that whenever here in the worker you are doing this DQ, you have, okay, not there. It's something like queue.client.update message. When you are updating the message, you have to do this 300, extend the visibility. Call this periodically if a job is long. Okay. Retry strategy must have track attempts in DB. Yeah, job.attempts greater than 3 mark field permanently. Okay. Add impotency, which is very important, so that it not return duplicate. When it completed, return null. Logging is important for processing this. Alright, I know it. So what I have to think about right now is we have to write our worker properly. So this is what all the use cases is. So a job is running, get a job from the queue, get a job from the queue and running the process. Then our DB update with processing, and then send the job ID to JSON file, and then it returns a process reel, and then after update that with the completed status in the DB. And so after that, delete message from the queue. Delete that message from the queue. If exception handle happen, then we just mark it as failed status. Alright, so in DB. Alright, so this is what is ill. Now what we have to do is to get that job from the queue. We need this queue service, that DQ service, right? So DQ, we need this DQ over here, this DQ, so that we can grab one by one a job from into this worker. So now what we have to do is import. Okay, from app dot services dot queue service. Okay, queue service import. What we have to import is queue service. Alright, so queue service, not queue client, queue service. Alright. From queue service we have as well need queue service. Okay, alright. So now what we need is we need these things. Alright, so queue is coming from this queue, but where is that coming from, right? We are going to use this these worker to here. Alright. Our worker is not going to call by something, right? It will run simultaneously, right? So here over here, if we see there's something like, yeah, it's just simplifying the things. Alright, so first of all I have to understand this one concept, which is this: where is that queue comes from? explain each and everything in detail, and where that Q and DB parameter gets the data, all right. So gets the data and how that all happened. Okay, all right, 1 2 3, and then this, and then stop, 1 2 3. All right, good. This is exactly the level where things click. I'll walk you through end-to-end data flow, not just loop. Okay, so yeah, that come from this queue service. I know it. That queue is coming from queue service, connects some string, and then jobs queue, and then the DB, which is the get underscore DB, and that is how it is coming from. So it's a main.py or worker.py. You can do it in main.py or worker.py. All right. So this is q dot in queue, and then after we're just grabbing these things in queue and db. Your code is running like this: worker loop qdb long running process, and then loop begins, and then after while true get message from queue, that getting message from the queue, it looks like this: id, and then prompt receipt, and then data, which is job id and user id, and then after no job, then wait. If there's no job, then wait. If not message, then wait async dot sleep. Free, which is contains why avoid CPU burning. Okay, waits for new jobs. Wait for new jobs. Okay, exact job ID. We don't want to like CPU burning. We don't want CPU runs again and again. Wait for new jobs. Okay, waiting for the new job. Extract job ID. You're extracting job ID. Now you know which DB records to process. Okay, which DB records to process. That job ID comes from here. Then update the status and also other things. Running JSON file here. That LLM and all other things gonna happen, and after need summing JSON file, and this is the get underscore job, which is job underscore ID get job. It is getting the job from the queue. All right, and then okay, it's get job is a database. Is a database thing, right? It's a database query, right? This is a repository database query, and then that job ID is going to it. If that is get that job exists, then it will get that job.source URL. This is, and then it sends to this service, small worker service, whatever, and the transcribe, that video path comes here, and this that all happening, and succeed path when all of those things are completed, and it will save as the completed, and this is what it is. All right, so let me write some of the code, all right. So I have to go to top, and now I have to write this code properly. Alright, so alright, bro, this is not much hard hassle, right? So we have to grab these inside the queue. We have to give the queue, and then if you go to see there here, that queue is connected with this. Now self.client key.services. Okay, queue.client, and so I can also get this self. Okay. Job service is getting that queue from self.queue from this one, right? So it's creating this thing again, right? Instead of doing this, okay, I have to think about something like the queue service, and then after the queue services come from this queue self.queue. This is the best way to use it, I think so as well. But here what it's saying, right? Okay, let me think about, right? The if we don't think, then there's many else will happen, right? I have to do things faster as well. I have to think about as well. There's so many different things I have to think about. Otherwise, there are many bad things that happen with me. So that's okay. I have to see this one. Okay. So you see, this is saying to get like that, but why not we can get like that? The DB is the job service DB. Okay, it's the DB comes from DB, and it's a DB and DB. Okay, so yeah, upload job and DB dot add job, DB dot add job. Where does that DB comes from? The job service, where that DB comes from? Alright, first of all, I have to understand where that DB job argument parameter comes from. Where that job data DB comes from here. Okay, so what that DB means, right? DB is okay. Over here you see this DB is, this is where DB is assigned. Okay, where it likely originates. In modern Python, the framework like FastAPI handles my dependency injection system. Here is how it usually does, which is database configuration. You have a file python.py that sets up the engine dependencies function. A function often called get DB else sys and handling closing it, route injection in your API endpoint. You call the service and pass the session in. So this is the DB. The DB from the route is passed into your job service. The queue service and the job service. Job service get DB and then this. Alright, this is also a good one way, but I wanted to understand this one. DB comes from where? There is nothing comes from here, right? So I have to pass, maybe I have to pass this a DB async session depends on get DB, right? It depends get underscore DB, right? This thing needed, right? Actually it's needed. Otherwise I just get this one parameter over here to get that DB over here. Alright, so I know I got it. I'm going to do this one as well, right? When I'm creating the job and using this route, we go to the route. Where's that route? Oh shit, I have not written the route. Is that written in main.py or where? Alright, not here. So okay, I have not created a route here. Okay, no problem. And for now I have to just set up my worker first of all. So for that I need just that job service comes from, that queue service comes from here, that queue service comes from this colon queue service, and then that queue service is stored here, and then after all of the things are working pretty fine. So yeah, I have to use this queue service from here. So okay, alright, so queue service, their true worker, and so on and so forth. Okay, so alright, let me write fast and break fast, otherwise we just waste our time more into just validation, thinking, patterning, right? We have to execute fast as well. And so over here, if we see this properly, async that function having a queue, having a DB, right? Having a queue, having a DB. So over here in the job service, we are using like this queue service. So I mean that async. What is that? Async def and then worker underscore loop, Yeah, it's a worker loop that is running simultaneously again and again whenever jobs comes into it, and then it processing the data and all other kind of things. All right, so sync that, and that needs something as queue to get the data, as well as that db and the queue, which is queue service, comes from queue service. All right, so this is the queue that is come from the queue service, and that this is the db comes from this column sync. All right, so let me use this one thing, job service and the queue and the db. Where is that db? All right, so db is okay. So we need to get the like this over here, a sync system. A sync system depends on get underscore db, right? So instead of sending to each and every, but worker is not going to call it by any other thing, so that's why I have to use this sync, right? So let me import that as well. Sync. Okay, from here, from from FastAPI, import async. What is that? Async co. Okay, where is that async session comes from? How to import it? Alright, so to importing it, you can import it from Alchemy. Oh, okay, I have used that that ORM to. Okay, so I have to use the ORM, right? So yeah, I have got it. From SQL Alchemy, dot 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 ORM dot pool dot schema dot testing dot event dot exit dot async co, or maybe you can say, okay, what it's saying, okay, async co, and then import async session. Okay, so all right, we've got this async session. Now we have to write async session dot, okay, not dot, async session equals to depends, which is depends on get underscore db, and that is come from this one, app dot db dot depths import. I think that is come from here. Okay, this is get underscore db comes here, right? So yeah, the db dot depths dependencies, that get db dependencies, if we go to this one, get underscore db, it'll just getting the database for us, the connection of the async session local, and then creating the session and starting that session. Yield is basically starting that session after when you write this, that is starting the session after. So yeah, depends comes from where? Depends comes from where? Alright, I don't know. So where's the depends come from? Depends comes from where? Okay, what it's saying, we need just a sync session. Why? db parameter. Use a sync session as a type hint for the db parameter. Okay. But what if we want depends? How we get depends from where? Where is that? Import. Okay. So where's that depends comes from? Okay, depends comes from FastAPI. Alright, so depends comes from FastAPI. Alright. So from FastAPI, import depends, DEPENDS depends. Alright, so that is not small d, capital D depends. So yeah, depends get db, depends get db, depends DEPEND. Okay, so yeah, depends get db. Now that queue service is red flag, what the hell happened? Non-argument follow default parameter. Okay. right, what happened? Okay, so let I cut this thing from okay. Right, what is saying? Queue is not accessed. Okay, none none argument follow default argument. What is this? What is this? What is this? All right, let me ask. Okay, queue colon queue service. Okay, what is saying? It's saying that you can use. Okay, what it's saying, you can use queue service at first and then after this one. Okay, so first of all you have to use later the db last and first as the queue service. All right, so yeah, and now what we have to do is we have to start a loop this worker function, right? So the worker function, we have to get the one job from the queue, while true, while true, while true, while true, while true, we just say await q dot dq. Alright, q dot dq, that q dot dq, and then after we just grab this the calling function, right? So we just call this one. So yeah, it's stored in the masses. Yeah, so we have got in the form of masses, one masses, right? So if there's no masses, then do this. But first of all, I have to understand that q comes from there. Is that good? Good one. Is that q comes from the queue service? By writing this just this queue, yes, that comes from queue service class. However, there is a case depends only works automatically inside a route worker. If worker is a background task running in the while if you're running as a background worker, you usually have to manage this session manually like this. Okay, so I have to manage the session like this manually. This is a sync session manager. Oh, why? A sync session maker manually create a session this specific job and then process your job using db here. I don't know what it's saying, right? We have to create a session for this specific job. We have created a session for us. We have created already here the session maker. So I think recommend manually create a session specific job for a specific job. We have create session manually over here. But what about somewhere we have made something in the core db.database, inside the database we have created this maker. So here we have created this. Here we have already created that one, that session, and as well I have, okay, so 1 2 3, which is this code, and then after I just say something more because okay, so here the worker is getting these things. All right, so getting these things. All right, now it is going to give us some okay, since you are using true loop, you shouldn't use depends. Oh, okay, why? Depends is designed for HTTP requests. It opens session when a user hits a URL and closes it when the response is sent. A worker loop never finishes a request, so depends will either fail to inject or leave a single database connection open forever until it breaks. Instead, use a single session local to create a finished session inside the loop for this and that. Sync session local. I've as well created a sync session local in the dependencies, right? So in dependencies, if we go to the depths or db/depths, yeah, so db/depths, we have created this as well. We we have this as well in this as well, but I have to ask this to some like I have also used this one, right? So I have also get that dependency get db. I think it's not getting the thing right. What you are saying? Huh? Happening here. See this coming from it. So yeah, that's what it is. And so let me build it over worker properly. So we have gotten a message from this queue. We have gotten a message from this queue, that DQ, and then after we have to say something like this, which is if there is no message. So if there is not message, then you have to just do something like this. Accepts. Oh, okay. We have to await for a sync CO. That is a sync. A sync CO. Where is that? So that comes from that import sync CO, sync CO. We have this import as sync CO dot. Let's say okay. So sync CO dot sleep of 3. What is this? A sleep of 3? I don't know. Async ASY and C async CO. So what is this? Sleep. How much time it sleeps, right? Okay. So how much duration it sleeps? It sleeps. Okay. So alright. So it's 3 seconds. Yeah, as I thought also it's 3 seconds, not 3 minutes. So yeah, in Python async CO delay async CO, this is a delay. The number you provide is always in seconds. Always in seconds. You can also use decimal for if you need to sleep, for a fraction, for a second, half a second. Since you're using this is in worker, sleep at the end of your loop is a great way to prevent if it spinning and consuming 100% of your CPU when queue is empty. So yeah, so and there is no message, then I'll wait for it. Otherwise, just continue. Otherwise, just continue. There's message. Okay, so let's continue things, and then after we have to get that job ID. What is job ID? The message is come here from that queue, and then we have got a data. Okay, let me see this over here in the job in the queue service, which is this job data. We are providing this job data over here. So I may think that okay, so data over here is the data. That means yeah, we can get the data like over here. Yeah, so yeah, that's good. And job ID, which is this job ID, which is what the job ID we have stored something all like things. Okay, so over here we have ID and there's no job ID, right? So there's no job ID, but I think that JSON data have a job ID kind of things. So let me go to the job ID. Okay, so in queue, okay, in the job service we have a job ID here that is job ID from the queue. So yeah, I think this is what it is. So we are getting job ID as well from this DQ. So from this DQ is over here. Okay, so in queue from this DQ, so DQ is here. We have just in the queue we are getting one message per time, and then we're getting these things. But how it is getting this from the DQ, how job ID comes from here. So I think that is come is by this one, that in queue, that is in queue, which is these things ID and this. So in queue is just creating that whole masses, and here creating whole masses and sending to the queue, right? So yeah. And then worker is just going to extract the job underscore ID which equals to your message. From message we have to get the data,
First of all, we have to get the data, and then as well from here we have to get the job ID. So for that we can get the job ID as well. So that is job underscore ID. So yeah, the job underscore ID, and then after what we have need is a try and catch up block for writing our whole, right. So this is our whole pipeline, not pipeline, it's something like just for a worker who's knowing when what happening, like a worker is just basically doing the job simultaneously, completing each job simultaneously. That is ill in the queue. So that's what a worker is doing only. So here we have to just update the data and whatever that catch. Okay. So over here we have to do all the things. So job ID get a queue. We have getting data from the queues over here. It matches. Right, this our pseudocode matches. Okay, so get a job from the queue. We have getting a job from the queue here, and then running the process. So for running the process, what we have to do is we have to write inside the try block. We have to write something like update, and we have to update the status, right? So we have to update the status underscore status. So update status, which is this one, which is db and job ID, job underscore ID, and then as well we need that success or whatever processing. Alright, so this is processing and the processing. So we have to write this into the repository for status tracking. So for status or progress tracking, we have to write inside this repository of a file, which is maybe you can say that progress or status.py. Inside this status.py, we have to write some of the code, like as like here we have written some inside the users. We have written these codes. Select user and whatsoever other things. Alright, so we have to write get user by email function name, and then db, and then email comes over here. That email comes here. Then we are just executing that db with selecting the user where if there is an user dot email equal to email, then we have got that whole is user data user object, and then we just so the whole data user. All right, so we have got the response from the database. All right, this is what it is. Now, okay, so I also write this from SQL alchemy import something like select and other stuff. But for now, we have to write some a function async or whatever, async def. We have to write a function which is doing one job, or doing is process upgrading the process, like so progress. Okay, so progress or whatever progress. Inside status, we have a status of processing status. So yeah, we have to write a processing function, and then def processing, which is gets a db as well as the as well as something, right? Okay, so let I do something here. All right, what happened? Yeah, so yeah, over here we have got our db, and then we don't get email. Instead of email, we got a job ID, job underscore ID, right? So we have got a job ID. Now we have to write the query properly. So for that, So for that, right, so in worker we are just sending this db and the job id, and then the data being processed, right? So this is the processing. How we can grab this one? I think by just writing one single which is uh, let me ask some query about from AI. Okay. School alchemy query. By the way, I'm not the guy who's in Python, so that's maybe a big hassle problem. So yeah, DB async function, async session. Okay, it's an async session, bro. I'm getting that from that. So yeah, a job ID and then str and then this. So stmt, what is this? Update upload job dot where upload job id, which is equal to job id, and dot value status equals to status. Okay, that's good one. What is this SMT? STMT is executing these things, and then dot commit, which is we have to commit, add the commit, the changes. So yeah, job dot status, which is this. Assuming job was filled earlier in the same thing. Alright, so we have got a status in the form of str, and then ORM object status update. If you already have the job object loaded in the session, you can simply update the attribute. Alright, I got it. So these are some identities. Just knowing that what kind of data, string, the job ID as well as string. Alright, job ID as well string. I may say that is an status equals to this. Alright, that is processing, and this is a worker, right? So worker have this calling to this and having this one status is processing. If that have status is processing, right? So if that status is processing, what about if that is status is processing? Alright. I don't know, I have one more question, which is how devs know things knows things, and they Google often things to write the code, and if they only thinks the logic, and then they go to internet and find the code fast, and they write by searching a lot about concurrency and whatever that. Yes, professional developers Google things constantly, often multiple times an hour, and it is normal part of developer part of the jobs. Researching is considered a core part of the problem solving process rather than cheating. How developers use the internet. Developers do not typically memorize every line of code. Instead, they focus on understanding the high-level logic and use search engines for the specific details. Logic is syntax. Developer think the logic first, breaking the problem into smaller parts and deciding what needs to happen. Then they use Google or site like Stack Overflow, correct syntax, the specific way to write in sort of language. Speed and efficiency is often faster to search for a status solution or a specific function meaning that than to try to remember it from scratch. Okay, so key skill modern coding is being good at developer is less about what you have memorized and more about this research skill. So effective searching is knowing exactly what keyword to use to find an answer quickly, understanding via copying, which is export. Developers do not just blindly copy and paste. They find code, understand how it works, and then adapt it to fit their specific project. Pattern recognition over time, developers recognize common patterns so they know what to search for, even if they don't remember the exact code. Are you learning a specific language right now? I am making my FastAPI project. All right. So yeah, I got you. So now okay. So you see this is processing, job processing. Now it says status. Okay, I know I can treat it as a parameter argument, as an argument, and that argument coming from here in the status, and then this is what it is. So yeah, I can say it as well. Don't there's no problem with this one. I don't have to name like this status this. Alright, so yeah, I can as well do that same again. Alright, but it's saying thinking the logic, okay, but it's saying that is a perfect example of why developers search so much. FastAPI is a modern framework moving parts like identity for data required for the server in separate for the web logic. No one memorized all of it. When making your project, you likely find yourself searching for these specific building blocks instead of writing everything from scratch. Thinking the logic before you search. Before searching, you decide what your API needs to do. It's for example the path, which is I want a way to get a list of terms from slash items. I need a get request for this and a post request for creating. User must send a name, a string, and a price. So finding the fast code syntax. Once you have the logic, you search for the syntax is the official list. Quickly find code like this. Okay, so we find code like this FastAPI based model and then identity and FastAPI based model and this and that. So this is like creating the item and returning the item. So you don't memorize every decorator like this or how identity models are structured every time. You just know they exist and look them up. And then using interactive documentation. One of the best hack for FastAPI items is using built-in docs instead of guessing if your code works on whatever. Common things you'll search: async via sync, when to use async def, vs regular def. Hint: use async for database or API calls. I know it. Dependency injection: how to share logic like database connections across different routes. Dependency injection, which is how to share logic like database connections across different routes. And identity validation: how to set a minimum length for a string or a range for a number. And so deployment, which is Docker container for the production. So yeah, that's what it is. Okay, I got you. Now what we are going to do is this, which is this. And then we are going to write this worker, and side worker we are going to write this update status. So over here there and status.type we are writing this, we are calling this update status function, right? So we are calling this update status thing, right? So whenever we send update status update status that, it's not like it's a querying repository, bro. It's an repository. We have to just update the status. Why I'm thinking like as a function stuff jerky? I don't have to think like that. It's something this. str a string, and as well something like this job ID as well as a string, and then status is also in the string. Alright, so yeah, I don't have to think like that, bro. It's updating the status. It's just a query. It's just a query that I'm writing to update the status each and every time. Whenever I call, this is just doing one thing, which is querying to the database and updating the status for me. That's what it is going to do. That's it. So update status, which is this, and then what happened is whenever a user, okay, so if we see this, for updating the status, so update, okay, this is Ascol Alchemy. I have not used much Ascol Alchemy, so I may have some problems, right? I don't know how to query these things, right? So yeah, I have not yet. Okay, so I can go and just see the guides and tutorials. But here I just click to this quick start. Right, I just click to the quick start, right? I was going to read about it, right, from list and this and that. There are many things. Creating the engine, you have to create an engine, declare the model. First of all, you have to know how to declare a model. You can declare a model like this: import optional, you import foreign key, import string, you import this, import map, import relationships. Yeah. Then you have to write class based declarative, declarative base pass, and then class user. This is user model you're creating over here by int mapped map equals to map column primary key. Yeah, it's a primary key, and then map the column which is string 30, and then mapped which is optional string, that full name, and then address mapped list address, and equals to relationship. It's a relationship back populates with user. That address is in the relationship of that user. That user have one and then cascade all and delete our phone. Okay, address and this and that. And then after we are creating an engine, we have to create an engine. Why we have to create an engine? The engine is a factory that can create new database connection for us, which also holds onto connection side of a common connection tool for fast use. For learning purpose, we normally use a SQLite memory only database for convenience. Okay, so we are using a SQLite and creating a table DDL. What is this? Creating a DDL table, creating DDL. Using our table metadata to our engine, we can generate our schema at the once target SQLite database using a method metadata dot create all, and then creating objects and persist. Okay, so we can create an object and we can persist to it, and then this is what it is. I don't understand that much. Okay, simple select. Okay, simple select. You can select the table. Okay, with some row in the database. Here's the simplest form of the emitting select statement to load some objects to create select statement, and we use the select function to create a new select object, which we then invoke using session. The method that is often useful using querying for the ORM objects is the session.scalars method. Okay, so when querying for ORM objects is a session.scalar method, which will return a scalar results object that will iterate through the ORM object we have selected. So we have to select a user like this, stmt, whatever this is, just a variable. Select where, select the user model, where that user.name underscore this. If that, then we just for user in session.scalar and whatsoever other thing. Select with join, you can select the join. So address, if that address have joined with that user, address.user, whatever the user of this address, the user exists in this address. So yeah, and then user.name is this, and then address.email address is equals to this. Yeah, so this is that, and then make changes. You can make the changes. You can some deletes. You can delete some of the things. You can as well so some commits and whatever it is. All right, so I think I've got the things. Now I have to just select the tables, right? So I have to select the update the job. Okay, instead of select, we have a keyword update. Okay, let me see this. If there is an update terms, update, there is any update things, right? So that's all doing properly. Your live stream working fine. And so zero concurrent user, viewers, chat, tweet, and views, and whatsoever damning happening with us. All right, so there's no problem with that. Okay, so okay, 0 0 0 0. All right, so update. which is update. Over here searching update. What is this update? Update. Okay, updating SQL Alchemy. Okay, let me don't search like this. Update SQL Alchemy. SQL Alchemy. Okay, SQL Alchemy query, right? So insert update if keyword from into this. Let me go to this, and so here we have update, delete, and this and that. So delete, you can delete the user table dot where that user this and that. So yeah, then you can insert, and you can also you can do this. Select, you can select the users. You can update over here. That is what it is. I think so. Yeah, update. We can write something called update. Update with this update with a table which is what the table. I'm just doing job model. I don't know job. Okay, let me see the models, right? A video job, upload a video job. I don't know which one I'm using. Upload jobs. Okay, let I see this over here in the job service. We are using upload job. Upload job, right? So upload job. Is there any upload job model? Upload job. Upload job. Video job is nothing. Upload job, right? So we are using upload job. So then we have to write this inside the status.py upload job. Upload job, right? So upload and job. Alright. So we have to use this upload job. This is inside the job service. We see this is upload job, right? So let me take it over here so that we can do the comparison. And so this is upload job, right? So this is an upload job. So whenever we are getting that, we are updating this upload job. Now update came from where? Update comes from where? That is comes from this model, right? So we have to get that. Okay, so from app.models.upload job, import that upload job, right? So we have got that upload job. Now update comes from where? Select and then integrity error. Okay, this update comes from where? So we have to first of all execute things, right? So await db.execute when you execute it, and then select instead of select we run this. Okay, so we write something called update, which is then upload job, and then where that is status. Okay, so update is why it is showing that update is not found defined. So what we can do? What is that? Okay, I think so. Yeah, for update we have to import from the SQL Alchemy. We have to upload update from the SQL Alchemy, right? Here select comes from where? That selects come from here, right? Select come from SQL Alchemy. Okay, I got you. I don't want to AI interfere. Don't interfere my AI. Don't come from here. Don't select and update. Here we need just the update keyword. What the heck I'm doing, right? I just need this. I just need to see this SQL Alchemy, right? So SQL Alchemy said that import the update like this, and similar functionality is available via table clause.update. Okay, method on table. Okay, I don't want, but I want this one only. So yeah, this is what it is. Now dot where. Okay, let me come like this. Dot where that user. Okay, where that upload job dot status. Okay, let me see some upload model of this. So upload job model over here inside this one. So upload job is over here, which we are seeing that have something called the enums, which is a pi enums. Okay, so pending for pending is, and transcribe. I don't want these things tracked. Okay, so I don't want these things tracked. All right, I don't want these things to be tracked. All right, so oh shit, what the hell is happening? Alright, I don't want this time. I just want user C pending, user C processing, pending. Yeah, it's a queued, I think. At first it's a queued, and then after processing, and then after completed, and then after failed or expired or whatsoever other things happen. So this is upload job, and that have ID and job ID, and then this and that. Okay, so over here you seeing that status, and now we can say that status, at first its status is pending. So over here we have to write that status upload job dot status equal to what do we say, equals to status equals to Python don't have triple equal to, I think. So yeah, status. So I think this is what it is, that status is this, status is this. So equal to status or equal to status? Equal to status, I am assigning the value, right? So let me see this here. Okay, here that is okay, equal to job ID. Okay, first of all we check that job ID, is that job ID, whatever that job ID, this is the value, right? This is the value that we are storing, right? So this is the value that we want to add, right? So in which job you want to add, right? To which job you want to add, right? That's what the thing is, right? So in which job you want to add, right? So first of all we have to get the job ID, right? So yeah, job underscore ID, and if that job underscore ID equal to job job underscore ID, if that is equal to job underscore ID, so the job the model have a job underscore ID. So if that is equal to job ID, then what we do is dot value with this one, what we are going to do. Okay, so this is one of the things, dot value. So if that is equal inside the where, not outside of the where. So yeah, I think so. Then a dot values. I think I need an extension of SQL Alchemy so that I know what are the query actually exists into that SQL Alchemy, so that I don't have to go again and again to that SQL Alchemy, SQL Alchemy, which one is? So I don't think anyone exists, right? As like I'm using Prisma for right. Okay, so there's it's not a trusted ones, right? It's okay, there's no problem. I'm not going to use any extension. Okay, but yeah, over here we have values. If there is an values, so let me see this inside the website. So this is what it is. Okay, over here you see this, that dot values have something, like this. Dot values have a status, equals to, we are just assigning this status equals to what? Well, let me see this over here, status equals to status. Yeah, status equals to status. Whatever status comes here, right? That status comes from here. We were just changing that value. This is the status of the value of the status over here inside this. You see, this is the status, and now then we are just assigning that status, which is come from this this one, which is worker, from this worker, right? So we have just import this one, right? Okay. So yeah, we're just going to import these things, and I have to import this at the last of the row, all the apps kind of things, right, at top, these important things. And so yeah, from I have to import something from app dot repositories dot status and then import, we have to import is update status. Update status. We have two things. If we go to this status, then it is showing something else. But yeah, this is what it is we are doing, right? So this is one of the our query which we have done, which is db.execute. db is executing that update upload job where upload job dot job underscore id, which is job underscore id, and then values is this. That's what it is. All right, there's no problem, right? So yeah, this is what we are importing update status, and then we are just using update status this, and then db comes from where? db comes from where? db comes from here, so we are just saying the db. All right, so what it's saying, I don't know, but we see processing. Okay, it's saying was not closed. Okay, where is that not closed? It's closed over here. You see this, right? It's closed over here. Okay, let me write something called exception thing. Alright, so yeah, this is the exception, accept keyword for catching the exceptions, right? Accept exception as e, we are getting that exception as e, and then we have to await update status, update underscore status, and then after we need something like d job id. Yeah, we have to pass three values that we have over here. We see that we are getting db, we are getting job id, we are getting the status. So we have to pass from here job id, and as well something like job id, and as well the that is failed, right? Is the failed attempt, right? FIELD. Yeah, so it's in like this, failed, failed, right? So job id and failed, this is what it is, and then there's nothing else. We can also say that like that. Okay, so what is this thing? Okay, this is a sync session. Okay, this is an async session. Why this showing this? What is this happening? Give me the clue first of all. So what it's showing is we have to use like this. Instead of saying string, okay, we don't have to pass as a string, right? So we have to just say like this. Okay, we don't have to pass like a string and whatever that. So yeah, db job id and processing and failed. When it failed, then it failed. All right, so we need some of the other queries, which is, yeah, we have done our most common best one is this, and now we need an JSON file. So for JSON file, we have already created over here in the JSON file, and now we have to just create something called an function, which is for an function async graph, which is in JSON pipeline. It's a pipeline. Okay, it's a pipeline. Alright, so yeah, it's a pipeline where there are a lot more things into it. So we just write it accepts an statement, so we just print something like in JSON pipeline. Just expect one statement to it. So that's why it is showing us the error. That's why we need this one. And so now what we have to do is nothing. We have to go to this key, to this worker, and we have to call after this, which is the await. Call this await that in pipeline, because we are just processing things. Then we have to pass this job ID, right? We're processing things. That means we are our DB have stored that is processing. That means now we have to pass something like ingation. Okay, ingation pipeline. Okay, ingation is this like this. Okay, the spelling of ingation. Ingation is that. It is that ingation file. Ingation file. All right. JSON file is a digital file that contains raw or semi-structured data specifically, which is prepared to be imported into a target system such as database, data warehouse, or cloud storage. That this file act as the primary vehicle for moving information from external source into a central repository during the data ingestion process. So common ingestion file, which is this and that. So ingestion, yeah, ingestion file, ingestion spelling of it is that. Ingestion underscore pipeline. For that instance, we need something like here in the ingestion, we need to write like ingestion, right? So ingestion file. Alright, so inside the worker ingestion pipe, okay, pipe line, which is just get and job ID. That's what it is. And that ingestion file is come from here, from app.service. What is this? Services dot ingestion import ingestion pipeline. Import ingestion pipeline. So this is what it is, ingestion pipeline. So yeah, that ingestion pipeline is getting that job ID, and then after ingestion we have said that after this thing we are going to say that is updated. So over here we have to store, okay, we don't have. So now after this we are just saying that await, and we are just saying that update the status to completed, so db comma job underscore id. We have to pass these things to status with what, with processing and updating, and this is an completed status, right? Completed. And then we are going to just delete that from message from the queue. Await, delete. What we are doing to that queue dot delete, or deleting that what we are deleting, this message, okay, this message msg. So deleting this msg, right? So this is deleting this msg, right? So this is deleting this msg. All right, so this is what happening here. I think so. This is all finally done. Getting a job from the queue, and then our DB to update the bit processing, then this thing, and then this thing as well, and then this. The processing happen in ingestion file, and then after we are completing the status, completed status over here. If you are seeing this, that's completing status, and then after that we are deleting the message from the queue, and then if there is any exception occurs, then this line runs, and so updating that status to failed, right? So this is what it is. And worker don't need to return any other thing, so that's why we are just fetching from the database and showing to the user. That's what our main job is. So yeah, I think this is a good one, and now I have to remove this from here. And I think this query is really good, right? So we are not returning anything from here. We are not returning anything from here in the status repository. So because we don't have to return, because we are just updating it, right? We are just updating the things. All right. So we are just updating the things. We are updating these things, right? So we can also send this one to AI and say that this is the best version to write this code, right? If we send this is the best way and modern ones. But here in this, which is also saying that use like as an STMT, like this: update, delete, insert, update, delete, insert, and then value base and whatsoever other things. Where filter on SQL expression, and this update, which is this, and then SMTP, which is print the SMTP, STMT, now SMTP, right? STMT, and so after that, okay, that's good. All right, now not like that. Don't do like that. Okay, so let's go and see this db.commit. Okay, so await db.commit, save the changes. Okay, await db.commit, await db.commit. Okay, let's redo this one. So await db.commit, await db.commit. All right, so the pro version, which is this one, exception errors, then update db.pro, rollback, db.rollback, raise error. That's a good one. I think minimal. All right, so I'm going to do this as well, then after something else. So our checklist is done, something like this. So let me go to the scale draw and draw something to it. So this is orchestration layer. Alright, so our to-do. So first of all, we have to create a to-do. Let me wrap this up. Alright, so we have this line over here. And after, we have to just make a to-do. So say like to-do or whatever, list of the, or let me make something here, right? So track, so I can track things. All right, so track.md. Now we are tracking things. So for that instance, we need to track something like date. We have to track date and something like list date, lists of work, and then we need date and list of work and checklist. What we can say true or false. Or true if done, true if done. All right, true if done. So the date is today, which is 24/2/okay, 24/4/2026, and I think it's the 23. I have done misspelled. It's done in 23. What other things done is I have done worker something called as a repository of what worker, and then status repository repo db connection, db query, repo db query, ready of it, query query, and then after true, true. If that is, then this is true. All right, that's what it is. It's true again. So yeah, it's true. Now tomorrow I have to do something like this for /2026. have to do something. What we have to do is now I'm targeting is to creating the ingestion file ingestion. Inside it we are going to create a transcript layer and then transcript layer as well, something like transcript layer, and then as well something maybe like extracting the audio. That I'm going to do. Extracting audio, transcript layer, extract audio. I think these all three things that I have to do. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. So it's a tomorrow checklist at night, after and so on and so forth. So yeah, this is what I'm going to do inside the ingestion file tomorrow, and the proper things right away. So model, load job, and the query, and so registry and router and schemas. And these are some identity schemas, and these are some services, and these are some docs, and that's what it is. Alright, I have to stop this streaming now, and goodbye. I'm going to sleep, and I'm going to upload this video. Let's go. And tomorrow I'm going to do things, and the checklist of today is done. These three things we have done today, and there are many good things, asshole things at all. So yeah, let's go. I'll see you tomorrow.